Okay, welcome guys. September 13th. Wow. Halfway through the month and halfway through our, for those of you who have 90-day goals, halfway through that. It's just crazy. So I have to share that I actually got into Sundance. I had a bit of a scare. Like, I qualified, of course, but they sold out and I didn't see the email. Like, nobody from Amber and Jared's team saw the email. And they're like, yep, sold out. And we threw a fit. We're like, what? Like, hold on. Like, what's going on? They are, you guys, we work for an amazing company. They opened up 20 more slots for the people that couldn't go, like, didn't see it like went to spam, and some people didn't even receive the email. They opened up 21 more spots, and it's doubling the cost for the whole thing for them. But they wanted us 21 people to get in. So I'm just like, oh, I feel so grateful to be able to get in and to go this year. So I'm really excited to share this with you, all the things that I learned, and just be prepared because you guys are coming next year. I've been alone for the past 2 years, I think. And it's kind of sad, you guys. I want you guys to be there. Like, I want you guys to experience that. So if you guys want to come, tell me in the chat who's coming with me next year, because I want you there. Usually it is, I would say, to be safe, to be global, but if you're integrated national, that's usually in the past, integrated national and above have come, but who knows, they might change to global. So just go global, okay? All right, well, couple things. For those of you, thank you who have filled out this survey for me. I really, really, really appreciate it. And I just love all of your feedback. I haven't gone through it all, but I'm going to be messaging you privately the things that you suggested, and so that we can talk about those. And I'm going to do that drawing maybe tomorrow. So if you haven't filled out my survey, I would love you forever if you did. And don't just say nice stuff. You can say whatever. Like, just say whatever on your mind. And then don't forget tonight at, oh my gosh. Hold on. What time is it at, you guys, tonight? Is it at 6:30? Yeah, it's at 6:30 tonight. We're doing the Health Community Zoom. This is for all potentials, clients, anyone in the health community, anyone. We're basically going over a bunch of stories. So if you guys can hop on and share your stories, I probably will pick on people in this group. If you have like a really great client that you want to share a story, tell me, message me, and they're going to be on. It's just going to be a night of inspiring stories. And then I'm going to have each person who talks say like their best tip for long-term maintenance. So be thinking about what you want to share for that. And then afterwards, I'll go over a little bit about coaching. Yeah, Jess.
Is it going to be recorded?
Yeah, we'll record this one.
Okay.
So it's basically like an opportunity meeting, but without like the slides. Okay, so we're just a great introduction. We're going to invite people to coach at the end, saying that's kind of like you for sure want to be a coach because you want to keep off your weight. That's the best long-term solution ever. And then we're going to invite them on the next morning, Friday at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, to come on the regular Coach Explore Zoom. You guys game with that? This is just, you guys, I'm just making this stuff up. Like, I'm just trying to see like what works, what you guys like. I'll probably switch it up to something else next week, but we'll just see how you guys like it. So give me feedback. Okay, and thanks to Gretchen for the suggestion. It's kind of a spin off of her suggestion. So
I'm super excited about it, and my clients are super excited about it too. I think they feel special, like they got invited to do something special, and yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, good. Let me know how it ends up and if you guys want to do anything else. So I appreciate it.
And I'm texting everybody and reminding them and emailing them. So yes.
Send them out a text 5 minutes before, send them a link. Like, there's no amount of reminders that is too much. Well, maybe not, but maybe. Yeah. All right. So let's get started. Last week, it was like a little psych out. Like, I was like, come see Lori. And then you guys all like showed up like, oh my gosh. And then I was like, just kidding, it's me. And you're like, dang it. It's okay. But
it's my fault. Hi.
No, we totally understand. And I love that you are super flexible too, Laurie. So today we get Laurie, and congratulations for Top Team Builder. You guys know she was recognized for that. So, and it's funny because she was already set for this last week and this week on the calendar. So it was just meant to be that she shared her tips, because I'll say it again. We, in this group, I love that when somebody's doing well, it pulls us all up. It's not like the crabs in the crab bucket where it's like when somebody does well, we like pull them down. No, they can't be doing well. It's like the opposite effect. It's like, oh my gosh, somebody's finding success. Let's all learn from that, and we're all going to that level. And I just love that we're all willing to share and not just like, know my secrets and can't tell anyone, because there are definitely people like that, and that's not our team. So, Laurie, so excited to have you. Take it away with whatever you got today, girl.
Okay. And it's just so funny. Like, I didn't even know what a team builder was. I was like, oh, okay, that's great. And that's kind of how I feel about everything. I'm not really sure what I'm doing, but I hear that from others too. They're like, oh, I'm just doing what everyone else is doing. So I'm just going to go through, some of the things that I have been doing, and they're probably things that you've been doing too, but sometimes you just hear a little something different that all of a sudden sinks in. I have that happen all the time. Chantel and I were talking yesterday, and there were like several things. I'm like, this is just really like, all of a sudden I'm like, I get it. I've heard it like, 25 times, but now I get it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was a challenge that Chantel gave me, and maybe she's given it to some other people too. But she asked me to write some daily affirmations for myself. And I was like, oh, I don't know how to do that. But she kind of shared with me hers. And then I thought about the Rachel Hollis book that I've been reading, The Girl Wash Your Face. I've been listening to it as I jog, which motivates me to jog because I want to listen to more. And so I really like the way she set up that book. She set it up like each chapter was a lie that she tells herself. And that she tells how that kind of came about. Like, she was just trying to come up with things that were working for her. And she realized that those were all concepts that she had to overcome about herself. So each chapter is outlined as a lie that she told herself. And so I was like, oh, okay. Boy, I can come up with, I tell myself a lot of those negative things. I can come up with a list. So I kind of did that as an exercise. I wrote down all the lies that I tell myself in my notebook. And it's like 2 pages. Like, I could come up with so many, like, yeah, oh, Jessica's got hers too. And then I took those lies and I tried to turn them around into positive statements, like the fact that I could never be a leader like Chantel. So I turned that around and said, well, I can be a leader like Laurie. And that's been one of my huge ahas too. And I think some meeting I was on with Amber, I just typed in, like, they said, what are your fears? And I said, I can't be a leader. That's my fear. And so they kind of talked about, well, what is a leader? We're all leaders in some way or another right now in something. And I was like, oh, I am, I'm a leader to my family. I'm a leader to, I could think of different people who I felt like I'm a leader to. And so that just made me start realizing, yeah, I can't be a leader just like Chantel or just like, Lori or, anyone else's name, but I can be a leader like me, however that ends up looking like. And so anyway, so that's one of the lies that I tell myself. And so then I wrote those into positive statements, like to make my daily affirmations. And then I retyped those into my phone. And so that's kind of part of my daily routine. And I try to read through those, or when I can, say them out loud. And that has been helpful. Just even the act of going through that really, really helped me. And now I've lost my list. So then some other things. I just thought I'd kind of go over client acquisition and my interested script. Like, I have just kind of thought maybe there are some things that I do in my calls with my potential clients that you might benefit from. And one thing that I do, and I'm sure you do this too, but is always try to relate to wherever they are at, or like what their struggle is. And if I haven't struggled with the same thing, then I tell about a client who struggled with the same thing. Or, if they only have 10 pounds to lose, well, I had 30 pounds to lose, but, I just talk about how exciting it is because this program works no matter where you are, if you have 100 or if you have 5. and then, you know, like why that is. And then the other thing that I always do when I share my story in my calls is, you know, I get to the part where I made it to my goal, and then I tell them about transition and maintenance, and I tell them how that was my favorite part, was when it all came together, all the pieces came together, and I realized that this was going to be a lifetime of being a healthy person. And that's when I fell in love with it. And that's when I finally called my coach and said, yes, I want a coach, because I know I have so many friends and family on my heart already who I know are struggling, and I want you to train me. Like I'm in. and how my coach trained me, and I went through a course through the Villanova School of Nursing. I always throw that in. And how for a year and a half I've been helping people, and it's been the most rewarding thing in my life. I share that like in the first 5 minutes of our call. So that's that first introduction to like, oh, coaching. You're like, Laurie, and you know, I tell them like I never thought I would do it, but it's just brought so much joy and happiness to my life, and it keeps me accountable. You know, go through all those things just really super briefly. And then I always make sure I paint the picture for them. You know, I guess they call that dream weaving. And I do that super quick too. You know, like, oh, you know, that 50-pound goal, like the average weight loss is 10 pounds per month. Let's even picture what that would look like. And I go through and count the months and say, oh my goodness, you could be to your goal by Christmas. You know, like when everyone else is starting on their goals in January, you would already be there. How exciting that is. And like, just even picture what that would look like, you know, and tell me 3 things that would excite you about being there. And so they just really get that, you know, like, oh, yeah, wow, that would be cool. I can see it, like, you know, and they just get so excited. Not that always is like, makes them decide to start, but I think that is something that helps them get to that point. Let's see. And I always explain the fat burn process. I don't know, I think that's just like something that I've become so aware how it's different than most programs that are out there. And people have tried so many programs. So I always insert that, you know, it's not necessarily in any of those interested scripts, but I'll go through everything, the 4 components. And when I talk about how it will get your body burning fat, I say, I'm going to talk about that more in a minute and tell you more how that works. And so then kind of when I get through the 4 components, I say, you know, I have one more thing I want to tell you about, and that's the science behind why it works, but I want to stop and see if you have any questions. So I kind of give them a minute, and they're, you know, most times they're like, no, you're doing a great job of explaining it. Go ahead and tell me what's the other thing, you know, and then I tell them about the fat burn and how that works, how it's like endorphins, it fights your cravings and your hunger, and like your body is making this natural appetite suppressant, and how exciting that is. And so, you know, I just think that's another thing that, to me, like, I love knowing that. And I love knowing that it's different than if you go and do some other calorie deficit diet where you're not going to have anything helping you fight your cravings and hunger. Okay, so let's go on. I always invite them at the end to try it for a month. I think that's a piece, you know, in the beginning I was missing. And so I always say, you know, if you want to try this for a month, it's the coolest science experiment to see how this works for your body and see what the results are and how you feel, you know. So do you want to try it? You know, I give them that opportunity to say, well, yeah, I want to try it. Or they're like, oh, you know, need to talk to my husband or whatever. Then I'm like, okay, I'll send you a follow-up email, and it'll go back through everything we talked about, and I'll check back with you in a couple days. So then let's see. Number 2 is my action board. How am I doing on time? I don't know if everyone did that in cruise groups, but in my cruise group, Stephanie Whiting shared her action board, and I like quickly snapped a picture of it, and I put mine that I've made in our FIBC group, our Facebook group. But I found that action board, it's kind of like my giant map now. And because my map, it's hard to fit everything in on that tiny page. And I added a lot more things to that board. And just the act of doing that, I was like, oh, whoa, look at all the things that I'm doing, and that helped me to realize you're doing a lot, and then it also helped me focus on, okay, here's some areas that I need to work on, and so that's been really helpful to have that action board. And it just helps my brain. Like, I feel like I try to hold a lot of stuff in my brain, and when it's on the action board, I don't have to hold on to it as much, because I can go and look at that and remind myself, okay, need to check back with these coaches. I need to check back with these people who might be interested in coaching. And that just helps keep me organized, because that's a challenge for me. I'm kind of that scattered person. Marcy and I have that in common. Let's see. And then, so the next thing that I kind of did was analyze what that board helped me see where I might be struggling with my business. And Chantel, talking to your mentor helps with that too. But one of the areas that I'm struggling, or that is a challenge for me, is I actually have a lot of coaches. Like, I'm trying to think, about 15, but I have 2 of those who are like really in action. And so I have a lot of coaches that I've started and having trouble getting them through the process. So that's when Chantel suggested, why don't you start a little group like we do here and help those people get going. And that was really good, because it was hard for me to think, oh my gosh, I have 12 coaches that I need to call and mentor and teach things to and motivate and how, so this has been a way to touch all of them at once, and actually twice, because I end up doing it 2 times during the day. So on Tuesdays, I have 2 times where I invite my coaches to join on, just like this. And it scared me, because, I'm like, I don't have a million things to talk about. I'm not a talker. Lori and I have that in common. But I'm like, I can facilitate. And so I try to just face it, or try to look at it with that attitude. Like, I can have one little quote or inspirational thing that I go over real quick in the beginning, just a couple minutes. And then maybe one skill that I'm going to work on later. But really, once I do that inspirational quote and talk about that, then I just kind of open it up, like, oh, let's hear from Heather. She just got 5 clients since the last time we talked. Heather, tell us how that happened. And she just kind of walks through and tells how that was, and then someone else will say, oh yeah, so I feel like I'm just kind of letting them inspire each other. And I've even had some situations where, I have a coach who hasn't set up any practice calls, or we've done one, and then they stopped and they're like, I don't need another thing that I'm bad at. And so then I had another coach who is a friend of hers, just happens to be they know each other. I'm like, okay, Brenda, tell us what you've been doing in your first 2 weeks as a coach. And, she was like, oh, well, I just started going through my contact list. I've been through the A's, B's, and C's, and I just started messaging everyone, telling them what I'm doing and asking if they would, want a free health assessment. And she'd done 11 calls and has 4 clients now. And the other girl who didn't have any, she was like, oh, well, you don't have any clients yet, do you, Brenda? And Brenda was like, yeah, I have 2. And she's like, oh. And she's like, well, how did you do that? And Brenda was like, I sent a text message to everyone. And I'm like, that's what I've been telling you, Angie. But Angie was like, oh, I could do a text message. It's just you just hear it from more people, and you hear it from people that, are more starting out just like you. And that is helpful. So that's been kind of fun. And that's been helpful for me, I think, saying, okay, maybe I can be a leader. It's a different kind of leader, where I'm just more facilitating things, but that's my style, and I can do that. So let's see. Then kind of just my attitude shift, and this has been a gradual process. I think we're all on this, but some things that Gretchen has said, and things that I just keep hearing, I'm like, you know what? Coaching is for everyone. And that just keeps sinking in more and more. I should be telling everyone, my clients, my friends. It's for people who are super into fitness. It's for people who are just starting their weight loss journey. Why not help 5 friends and family? It's fun, and it's going to be the thing that helps you stay healthy for your life. You know, if you're a client and you're getting close to your goal, this is the step that will make you that healthy person for your life. And, you know, not that I'm saying it, and I tell this to them, I'm like, not that I'm saying just because I want to sign up more coaches. You know, I am saying this because I want you to be successful. And for me, you know, looking back almost 2 years now, I know that's the thing that has kept me maintaining, is because I'm continuing to teach it. And it keeps me accountable. It keeps me learning. It keeps me focused on helping other people. And I also have a client who's been through AA. So, you know, we hear that, like Jared has said that, and we've heard other people say it, but I think when you actually talk to someone who's been through it, she's, I think, 2 or 3 years sober, a high school friend. When I talk to her, she's always saying things that are about our program that are similar to AA. But when I talked about coaching with her, she's like, you know, step 12 is sponsoring someone. And, you know, she kind of went through the reasons why that was important. And I'm like, yeah, that's the same thing. You know, you want to be a healthy person, you've got to teach someone what you're doing. And the more that I just feel comfortable sharing that, like, I just feel like that has helped my business get that momentum. And though, you know, I have these coaches in this group, and possibly I have enough to get to FIBC if everyone stays, you know, what they are on track to do, but I'm not depending on that. I have 4 more coaches that I'm messaging about the meeting tonight, not coaches, 4 more people that have expressed interest that I'm going to invite for tonight, and maybe even more. But, you know, I'm not like stopping, you know, like, and that's Chantel and I were talking about that too. Like, this is just a step along the way, you know, hopefully to, like, I can see global happening. It's hard for me to see integrated presidential like Chantel, but I can write that down now and put that as, I would love to be there someday. I don't know how it's going to happen, but yes, I want that to happen. And so that's kind of a mind shift that I've had to. Let's see. Sharing coaching with everyone, appreciating struggles. The other day I was on a meeting with some of you where we kind of shared things that were our current struggles, and how that affects us, you know, and all of us were very emotional because the struggle is real. It doesn't matter where you are. I was on a meeting with Amber the other day, and she was saying, I had a day the other day that was just teary all day long. I'm like, you know what, you had a teary day. And I think that's just something that we always, you know, we have our ups and downs emotionally. But after that meeting, I think that was kind of therapeutic. Like, I kind of got that out. The next day I woke up and I was just so excited. I was like, oh my goodness, I get to be with the coolest people. Like, I was doing my little coaching group yesterday, or what was that, Tuesday? And I was just so excited to get to see them, you know, and that I have these people that I'm learning from. And that's what I always get excited about, is these people that I'm bringing on. They're people that I want to be around. They're people that I want to learn from. And like Kayla, who's on the call, she's my one of my coaches, and she's just amazing. Like, she set such a good example for me, and I love learning from her. I love getting on the meetings with you all, and I just am trying to appreciate those struggles, because in that meeting the other day, I talked about how kind of our financial situation, my husband isn't earning any money right now, and that has really pushed me. You know, it's really tightened my tension on my structural tension for growing my business. But but I'm just trying to appreciate that, like it's hard, but I'm appreciating that because it is pushing me and it is the thing that is making me grow. And so, and I think Rachel Hollis talks about that, just appreciating right now, being grateful for the moment right now, as you're like on the brink of whatever your next goal is, just embracing that and embracing the chaos. That's what someone's advice for me was that you, Amy? Yes, it was. Just embrace the chaos. So I'm trying to do that. And I think that's everything. So,
oh my word. Was that not amazing? I just love to dip into your minds. Like Laurie, like it's interesting how success, if you backtrack success, it's not just like, oh, Laurie was lucky, or Laurie was, she happens to have a flourishing business. It's like, back up. It all starts here. This is where like the seeds are planted. This is where it all starts. And I can tell, like, when somebody's being successful with their business, I just love to like pick their brain, because it's like certain mindsets that are just the same. Like, it's the stuff we read in personal development. It's the stuff we learn on trainings where it's like, whoa, okay, that's coming together. No one's perfect at it, but just like Laurie says, it's like instead of being like, oh my, this is happening with our family and my husband and find out, it's like she's already embraced that as like the obstacle is the way. Like, that's just, you can tell she's not like struggling with that right now. It's just a totally different mindset. And so that is just super inspiring to me. I just love that. So that's why I love, like, in trainings or in even like events, bigger like convention and stuff, I always find the people that are doing awesome. And like, I'm like, I want to pick their brain because I want to know how they think, because that's how I want to think, because I'm not there yet. So find the people that your next goal, find those people who are there already, and then see what they think. Love it. Okay. We have a few minutes for questions. I know you guys probably have questions or comments for Laurie. Hop off mute.
Laurie, do you introduce coaching to those that aren't on the program or have no idea about it? And how do you do that?
I have. So I have probably 3, and then a 4th one who says she wants to start next month, who, don't have any weight loss that they need. But let me think. So 3 of them are very into fitness. And so that kind of started as me just messaging them, like commenting on their things on Facebook. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. You're so inspiring. Because it is, like, I want to know about that. And so then I started this one coach who is doing amazing. In her first couple of weeks, we've been going back and forth for about a year. And so several months ago, we tried to get together to have lunch. So I was like, let's just get together. I want to hear about what you're doing, and I love to share what I'm doing. And it kind of fell through. I don't know. I think she was still kind of questioning what I did, but finally she kind of and I just kept commenting because I really am inspired by what she does in the gym. And so then finally, recently, she's like, okay, yeah, let's get together. And so we had lunch, and she's like, tell me about it. And so I just kind of went through like I would an interested script, or an interested call, and told her about the program. And then talked a little bit more about how that could, I already had in the back of my mind, she said, I'm going to start training people as a personal, fitness trainer. And so I talked about how that would work. I knew that there was a webinar that was directed towards fitness trainers. So I said, I'm going to send this to you and watch it and tell me what you think. And then, another girl who I had lunch with last week, she's just a sweet, dear friend who is, already at her optimal weight. And she has an interest in health. She's not necessarily fitness, but we've just been talking. She came to an event at my house. And so I'm like, let's go to lunch and talk about it. Because I knew she had quit her job and she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, and she has a background in marketing. I'm like, this would be such a good fit for you. You love health. You have marketing background. Let's talk about what it would look like for you. So we went to lunch, and she's like, yeah, I want to do this. I think Shannon was going to ask something.
I have a question. Laurie, what do you do? Or was Shannon going to go?
You go ahead. It's okay.
Oh, go ahead, Shannon.
Well, I just wanted to make a comment, actually, because it kind of all ties together some of the things that we think about ourselves. And a couple of things that Laurie said today was, number one, she said, I'm not a leader, but then she said, I'm not a talker. And look at what she did in the last, 32 minutes. So I think it's a good lesson for all of us. I wonder what we think about ourselves that is so far from the truth. And I just thought I'd point that out because I think you're pretty amazing.
You're so sweet, Shannon. Yeah, that's one of those lies I tell myself. I'm not a talker. Okay, maybe I should say it's not comfortable for me to talk. Kelby, what were you going to ask? Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate that.
I was just going to ask real fast, like, what do you do? And maybe this is something that I need to just call you because this might be a long answer. But what do you do to help your coaches hit senior coach?
So that is the thing that is the challenge for me. Because, there's those who just take off and they just do it. And then there's those who are struggling. And so that's why I started that group. Because I don't really know the answer to that, Kelby. I'm like, okay, maybe if I get them in a community together, they'll help each other out and they'll figure it out. And they'll encourage each other. So that's my answer.
Thanks. I like that.
That's all I know so far. I'm sure. Kayla.
So I have like a random question, and maybe this is off topic, but how do you keep track of all the paperwork? Like, do you keep paperwork on all of your clients? And I'm starting to get like referrals and random strangers. And so I'm like, I have got to write stuff down or I'm not going to know this person or what they've said. Like, do you have a system?
Okay, I'm going to be really honest here because I think my brain works different than a lot of other people's. I really don't keep track of anything. I have my phone, and my phone tells me the date they started. Like I'll scroll back in my text and see, okay, what day did you start? And I'll scroll back and see when they like sent me what their beginning weight was or their picture or whatever. And that's really how I track my clients, is just by the history. And I know that's not how everyone's brain works. But for me, I am so bad with paperwork. I can't keep up with it. I've tried before, like I got my binder all organized and had a page for every client, but they would message me things when I wasn't by my binder, or on a trip or whatever. And to get back to my binder later and do it, it just wasn't happening. And so okay. I was like, well, does that really affect my ability to coach them? I get when I'm on the phone with them, I'm like, okay, remind me, what was your goal again? How far are you from that? And I just have them walk me back through it. And that, I don't know if that, for me, that's been what works for me,
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. I didn't know that, Laurie. And yeah. I think that goes to show, like, some people love to write it all down, to have all the details. Some people don't. Do what works with your brain. There is no right or wrong way. And it's all about caring for the people. Like, Laurie gets on the phone call and the clients know how much Laurie loves them. They don't care if she doesn't remember their exact end goal, because it probably changed since the last time they talked.
I was going to say the same thing. So I I have it. I'm in the car, but I have it with me. I keep it with me almost at all times. My map, and I write down all my clients. And when I do my client check-ins, I used to go through binder page by binder page, and I'm like, I don't have time for that. So I write out everybody on the map, and then I check them off in different colors for the different days I taught. So I make sure I have like 4 checks for the 4 weeks of the month or whatever. But I just kind of I know who it's supposed to be, and I can remember enough about them that I don't need to ask. And sometimes I go, oh, I don't have my paper in front of me. Can you remind me? And they're happy to tell you. They don't think that I'm like totally crazy. The other thing is I heard Lori say something that I think was really powerful. Something I've thought about for a long time is why some coaches take off in their businesses and others don't. Because at the very beginning, everybody seems excited about it. And so why not? And I think it's all about our brains. I hadn't really thought about that. It's that they don't have the belief in themselves that they actually can be that senior coach. So can we inspire them to actually have that belief and, by some of these things? And does that make sense? And not every coach can also start at the same spot. Like I started a new coach this week, and she's like, I heard about the 3, 3, and 3 on her face, on one of the trainings. And so I went back and I looked at her Facebook feed. It was Gina Eccles told me to check out your Facebook feed before you even start talking to this coach. I went back and looked. She's posted 2 posts in the last 30 days. I was like, okay, you can't do the 3, 3, and 3, or your Facebook friends are going to be like, what happened to my friend who's posted 2 times in the last 30 days? I said, this week, let's do the 1, 1, and 1, right? Because she, I have another new coach who I think did the 3 and 3 after not really being a Facebook poster, and her friends feel like she's trying to sell them something. So kind of getting that new, not every coach can start in the same spot, but the goal, like we all know, the outcome is the same. So having them write down where they're headed, but not give them, the steps can't be so, it's like meeting that client where they are. The steps can't always be exactly the same. Of course they're based on the similar principles, but does that make sense? Not every coach is going to run as fast anyways, but making sure they have that belief that they can actually get there.
Yeah, I love that, Gretchen. Thank you. And that's so true. I mean, I have my husband's cousin who's about 65 years old, and she doesn't really know how to use Facebook. So we've just had lessons on how to even post a picture, so baby steps. And I know at some of the conventions that I've been to, people who are up on stage will say, I had my coaching kit for 8 months and didn't get started, and then I finally got started. So I am trying not to ever give up on someone and, just kind of keep them on my radar if they bought their kit, but then they're like, oh, I don't have time right now. I just try to keep touching on them every once in a while and see if they're ready,
I have a question. How often do you check back with those coaches who are inactive, in your opinion?
I think it's kind of individual depending on, what their situation is, and just try to have it be natural, if we see each other or whatever, I'll just kind of bring up, oh, well, how's your job going? What's your time situation like now? And if they're like, oh, well, I went part-time, then I'm like, oh, this would be a great time to pick up that coaching again, or, and I don't know, I'm kind of working on that, Jessica.
Gina Eccles says, put them back in whatever zone you knew them before. So if they were your friend before, put them back in your friend zone. Just treat them like you did before they were a coach. So does that make sense? So I have some coaches that are not as active, but I was their friend. So one of them, I help her some of their IEP stuff. So I knew she had an IEP yesterday. So I was texting her, how did your, I'm excited. Are you ready for our IEP meeting? Then how did it go? Not, Danica, what did you do with coaching this week? Does that make sense? Just put them back in whatever zone they were in before.
That's good.
All right, you guys, that was amazing. Thank you. Thank you. I just have learned so much. I just have to echo what was being said about the whole belief thing. That's when Gretchen and Larry were talking about that, you guys, that's why I always ask you, what is your goal? What do you think you can do? Because that's exactly the limit that is there. If you guys come to me and I just think the most realistic thing is that I just keep hitting executive director. I go, yep, that's what's going to happen. Like, that's what, yeah, I'm sure. But if somebody comes to me and says, like Laurie says, I want to be integrated presidential, I see that. I go, yep, that's totally going to happen. And it's not like a positive mind thing. It's my experience from doing this for 7 years and working with people. It's, okay, yeah, that's the number one thing I have to ask people to know where they're going to be in the future. It's so crazy. Like Laurie has a coach that we did a coach celebration with, and she wants to go executive director. She's like senior coach right now, and she's just like so set on executive director. I guarantee you guys, check up on us. She's going to hit executive director. She just like, in her mind, it's like, no question. She's going on this cruise. She's hitting it. No problem. And then like I did another client celebration where it's like, to even think about going executive just scares them. I guarantee they're not going to be there yet. It's all about, if you guys haven't listened to the podcast, the believing one before it happens. Yeah, that's got to happen. I'll put it in the link for those of you who haven't seen it. But it's, again, like Laurie said, it's also I love how it's not the stopping point either. It's how you view it. If it's a stopping point, when Laurie said that to me yesterday, I literally realized that integrated presidential in my mind was a stopping point. I don't know why. I just had it because I was trying to get the coaches that I have, like, to push them in there and be like, this has got to happen for this goal. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's not a stopping goal. I don't want to stop there. They will probably get there, but yet I want to have like 20 executive director, like for me, my next goal is like 20 executive director legs. And so that would mean that I need to go acquire a lot more people. And so if we think of, you know what I mean? If you're thinking of it as like a short-term goal, then you're going to try to force it in the people that you already have. If you have a much further goal, then it's like new people, keep moving on. Right. So anyway, thanks for letting me share my thoughts. I learned
that was
sharing it.
Super great, Chantal. And this morning I was at Orange Theory with my husband, and they give you these things to do, and it was like, do 500 meters, and I realized something about myself. I always just want to make sure I get it right under the time they tell me is like the limit, right? And I'm like, why am I trying to hit under the limit? Like, I'm not shooting for the front of the limit. I'm always like trying to shoot right. I barely made it. And I thought I got to change that to I barely made it to like, why don't I shoot for the top number instead of the bottom number next time? And I'll get a lot further than that. But isn't that funny how we do that? Like, and we set limits on everybody, and by telling them where they can go. It's crazy.
Amen. So. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much for hopping on. Hopefully you learned something. Love ya. Thanks, Laurie.